بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا كريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So before our break for the prayer, we went over that of the explanation of dealing with this hadith of Irbad ibn Sariyah and dealing with the effects of the Prophet ﷺ firstly giving admonishment, and a very powerful admonishment to his companions, to the point that it achieved a sense of fear and effect upon those companions because of the eyes shedding tears of that particular admonishment. So upon hearing that, the companions thinking or contemplating that this was a farewell speech, because perhaps at this time, or close to this time, the Prophet ﷺ would not be around anymore. So because of that, they asked for an advice of guidance and recommendation in what to do after you have gone, meaning the Prophet ﷺ. So the first thing in which he has recommended and he advised his companions on is the most comprehensive and concise recommendation that one can give to another, and that is being dutiful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning taqwallah. Usikum bit taqwallah. And that is that of fulfilling the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, staying away from the prohibitions that He has prohibited. Then likewise that of sama' wa ta'ah to the leader of the Muslims, and that which it entails of good. And if the leader decides to command with something which is contrary, or some apparentness of a mukhalafa, or opposition to that of a sunnah becomes apparent in that leader, that he is not to be obeyed in that aspect, and he is not to be removed from that position of authority as long as that mukhalafa doesn't reach the level of kufr. And then after that, giving them warning that those who live for a while, they will see many differencing. So in order to remedy that particular differencing, he gives them the remedy of holding fast to his way and the way of his rightly guided predecessors, that of those being those companions. So here we will continue, inshallah, with the closing out of dealing with the aspect of Khulafa al-Rashidin al-Mahdiyyin, and these descriptions of what is mentioned in dealing with that. So the Shaykh Hafidhahullah, he continues and he says, هَذِهِ صِفَاتُهُمْ. These are their descriptions. Rushd wa Hadi, that they have these two descriptions of, or the three descriptions of being a Khulafa al-Rashidin al-Mahdiyyin. So he says, first of khulafa, أنهم خلفاء لرسول صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم اختارهم الله لخلافة نبيه صلى الله عليه وسلم وقيادة الأمة بعد الرسول. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose them for the leadership, or to proceed after that of the Messenger or his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to lead his followers after him, after the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So knowing that Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali would restrict and confine themselves strictly to following that of the way of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the point that an example is brought forth in Sahih Bukhari of dealing with the how each one followed the other. That Umar was sitting in the masjid with another companion, and he was looking at the gold that was upon the Kaaba, and he said that he was going to give the gold there to the poor. He was going to take the gold off of the Kaaba and spread it out amongst the poor. And then the man said, no, you're not going to go ahead and do that. And he said, why not? Why wouldn't I? He said, because your two companions before you didn't do it. And he said that you're right, and they have the most right to be followed in. So here we see that Umar had an idea. He wanted to do a good act. What's wrong with taking the gold of the Kaaba, sitting there, and give it to those who need. So the man said, no, you're not going to go ahead and do that. Because why? Abu Bakr and the Prophet ﷺ didn't do it. And he said, they have the most right to be followed. So here is an example that even a Khalifa, that if he did it, it wouldn't have been no harm. But the fact that his predecessor, the one before him, didn't do it, and then the one before him didn't do it, what did he do? He didn't do it. So likewise, we have an idea. We come and have an idea. It sounds like a good idea. It seems all right. Seems like it's no harm. But where does it fall in that of the religion? Even if it's good, how glorious would it be to give the gold, that amount of gold out to the poor? It would be a great deed. But the fact that Abu Bakr and the Prophet ﷺ didn't do it, Umar didn't do it. And they all knew this. The companions understood this. So they knew that they would lead one another upon righteousness. They would lead one another to that which was closest, or that which the Prophet ﷺ did. Secondly, al-Rashideen. Min rushdi wa huwa didd al-ghayy. It's from guidance, contrary to that of misguidance, or astray, being astray. فهم راشدون رضي الله عنه بخلاف أهل الغي والضلال. So they are guided, contrary to the people of misguidance. ثاني مهديين الجمع مهدي وهو من هداه الله إلى الحق والصواب. So it is a plural of one who is guided, and that is who Allah guided to the rightness, to the truth and correctness, to that which is correct. لأن الله هداهم وهذه شهادة لهم أنهم على الهدى. And that is because Allah guided them, and this is a testification of their guidance. The Prophet ﷺ said, Rashideen Mahdiyin. They are guided. So this is testifying to the guidance, to the correctness of these predecessors. ثم آكد ذلك فقال تمسكوا بها. Hold fast to it. Hold it tightly. وهذا تأكيد لقوله عليكم بالسنة. And this is emphasis to the statement عليكم بالسنة. فعند اختلاف تقع على الأمة في خطر عظيم. So this differencing that has taken place with the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a great danger. So, it's very dangerous. It's a dangerous affair. And that one cannot be saved from it except if they hold fast to the way of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَالْإِنسَانُ إِذَا كَانَ فِي مَهْلَكَ, if he's, looking at his demise, his destruction, أو فِي غَرَقٍ, where he, about to drown, and he's being overwhelmed with these differences, being overwhelmed with these aspects of misguidance, being overwhelmed with these misconceptions and everything of that nature. فَلُجَّةٍ يَتَمَسَّكُ بِحَبْلِ الَّذِي يُنْجِهِ مِنْ هَذِهِ شَيْءٍ. That he is to seek refuge by holding fast to this rope which will save him from these things. And this rope which will save him from these dangerous affairs, it is the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if a rope comes to you and you are in the water or in the ocean or in some type of water, tagraqu, you're drowning, you're getting tired, you can't swim, you're going down. Somebody throws you a rope. They throw you a line to help you out. فَإِذَا خَشِيَتْ. So if you feared that it will, be released from your hands, you could grab onto it, but you don't have that ability to hold fast to it. That you will hold on to it with that, you will bite onto it with your nawajith. If you fear that it will come loose from your hands, that غَدُّ عَلَيْهِ بِالنَّوَاجِذِ, that you will bite onto it because you know why. Because you know that this is your salvation. You know that if you don't have the ability to grab it, you don't have the ability to hold on to it, you are going to put forth every effort, anything that can grasp that rope to save you, that verily you're going to use anything, a part of your body that will use to grab it. And here that you will bite on it with your nawajith. أي بأضراسك, the molar teeth, the back teeth in your mouth. لأنه إذا, that is because when it is stripped away from you or loosened from you, that you will be destroyed. So just if you are drowning in the water, can't grab on it with your hands, you bite on it with your teeth. So if you do not hold on to it and it becomes loose, and you become loose from it, that verily you will be in the state of destruction. So if it becomes too hard for the Shaykh Hafidhullah, he continues, if it becomes too hard for you to hold on to it with your hand, that you hold fast to it by biting on it with your molar teeth. And that is under the statement, وَقَوْلُهُ تَمَسَّكُوا بِهَا وَعَرْضُوا عَلَيْهَا بِنَوَاجِذٍ. That you bite on it, hold fast to it and bite upon it or bite on it with your molar teeth. And this is more emphasis after emphasis. هذا تأكيد بعد تأكيد. So this is emphasis upon emphasis. So there's nothing, this sentence structure and all of this is based upon emphasis one after the other. Be upon my sunnah. 1, hold fast to it. Number 2, hold fast to it with your molar teeth. وبعد تأكيد بتمسكي بسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم in the fitan. So in the times of trials and tribulations, hold fast to that way of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hold fast to that way of his companions, and hold fast to that of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man ata'u rasul faqad ata Allah. Whoever obeys the Messenger, verily has obeyed Allah. وَعِنْدَ اِخْتِلَافٍ فَإِنَّ بِهَا قِسْمًا. And in the times of differencing, because verily within it or with it is that of protection and salvation to those who hold fast to it. وَتَرَكَ مَا عَلَيْهِ الْمُخَالِفُ لِلسُّنَّةِ مَهْمَا كَانَ هَذَا شَخْصٌ أَوْ الْمُخَالِفُ. And to abandon what that he is upon, abandon what he is upon, is being of opposition or opposing that of his sunnah, or to the sunnah, whoever it may be, whoever this person may be, or this person who opposes. So anybody who does not, or abandons that of sticking fast to the sunnah, holding fast to the sunnah, that verily this is a mukhalif, this is one who opposes or is not holding fast or not following the way of the sunnah. So then he continues, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, wa iyyakum. And he says, beware. هذا تحذير. This is something of being aware, to warn. وَالْمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ. And it's mansub ala tahdir. وَمُحْدَثَاتِ is mansub وَعَلَامَةَ نَصْبِهِ كَسْرًا. So here you're dealing with an aspect of Nahu. Basically mansub, the origin of it is that of a fatha, but there is times and cases in this, when it's jama' muannath salim, that it must take a kasra in replace of that fatha. So the origin, originally it would be something of muhdathata, but since it's jama' muannath salim, that it must take that kasra in order to establish its nasb. And that's, we're not going to deal too much onto that. But for those who understand the word nas meaning fatha and are wondering why muhdathati, that this is the alamat al-fath, it's a kasra niyabatin al-fath, because it's a jama' muannath salim. And we'll leave it at that. وَالْمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ الْجَمَعْ مُحْدَث. That muhdathat is the plural of a muhdath, something which is introduced. وَالْمُحْدَثُ فِي الدِّينِ مَا لَيْسَ لَهُ أَصْلٌ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَلَا سُنَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ مِنَ الْأُمُورِ الْحَوَادِثِ. So a muhdath, or something which is introduced to the religion, is something which does not have an origin from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, min al-umur al-hawadith, in like the events, in these certain events. Just as Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, man ahdatha fi amrina hada ma laysa minhu fahuwa rad. Whoever introduces an affair, whoever introduces anything to this affair of ours that is not from it, that it will be rejected. And in another narration, man amila amalan laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa rad. that whoever introduces or does an action which is not in accordance to our affair, that it is rejected. Who narrated these two hadith? Start there. Go ahead.
Aisha.
Very good. Hassan. Aisha. فَمَا خَالَفَ السُّنَّةِ فَهُوَ مُحْدَث. So whatever opposes or contradicts the sunnah, that it is a muhdath. It is an introduced affair. وَالْمُحْدَثُ بِدْعَ وَالضَّلَالَ. So a muhdath is a bid'ah, is an evil innovation and misguidance. فَإِنَّ كُلَّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَ. That every introduced affair in the religion is an evil innovation in the religion. يعني كل محدثات في الدين أما ما حدث في أمور الدنيا كالمراكب وملابس والمساكن هذا ليس بدعة. So as for the affairs which are introduced in the dunya, such as riding, cars and the likes of that, and clothing and housing, all of these is not to be considered evil innovation in the religion. وَهَذَا مِنْ مُنَافِعِ الَّتِي أَبَاهَا اللَّهُ لِعِبَادِهِ. And these are the things of benefit which Allah Ta'ala made permissible for His slaves. إِنَّمَا كَلَامُ فِي الدِّينِ. But this is only dealing with that of the religion. This speech here, مَنْ أَحْدَثَ فِي أَمْرِنَا, and likewise مُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ, as it comes إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ. All of that is dealing with beware of the introduced affairs in the religion. فَلَا يُجُوزُ لِأَحَدٍ أَنْ يُحْدِثَ فِي الدِّينِ شَيْئًا لَيْسَ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَلَا سُنَّةِ رَسُولِهِ. So it is not permissible for anybody to introduce anything into the religion that is not in the book of Allah, nor the sunnah of the messenger, or the sunnah of his messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even if his intent was good, even وَإِنْ كَانَ قَصْدُهُ حَسَنًا وَيُرِيدُ الْخَيْرَ. Even if he wanted to do good, and he wanted, a good intent, and he wanted good by it. So even if an individual does an act of anything, but it is not in accordance to that of the sunnah, or by that way of what the Messenger ﷺ legislated, it is not something which is good and correct. It is rejected. Even if his intention is proper, or his intention is something of a good intention. فَإِنْ كَانَ يُرِيدَ الْخَيْرِ يَتَّبِعِ السُّنَّةِ. But so if he wants true good, real good, that he would follow the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if he wants other than that, وَإِنْ كَانَ يُرِيدَ غَيْرَهَا فَهَذَا لَيْسَ خَيْرًا. Once other than that, then this is not good. It's not something which we can call good. No matter how good it may look, how good it may sound, how good it may feel, that if it is not supported by anything aspect of that, of the way of the Messenger ﷺ, or in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it is not good. وَإِنْ رَآهُ هُوَ الْخَيْرًا أَوْ ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ خَيْرٌ. Even if it is seen to be good, or he thinks that it is good. وَمَا تَرَكْتِ السُّنَّةِ خَيْرًا إِلَّا بَيَّنْتَهُ. And there was nothing left that the sunnah, of good, that it made it clear. So the sunnah made everything which is good clear. The sunnah didn't leave anything off to establish in the religion. The way of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam left, that he showed us every aspect of achievement of good and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it made everything clear in those aspects. فَهِيَ شَامِلَةٌ. It is complete. And it is not in need of ihdath. It is not in need of making anything introduced into it. Because Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, He said, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. That today I have completed your religion. فَدِينَ اللَّهِ كَامِلٌ. That it is complete. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ لَا يَحْتَاجُ أن تأتي بإضافة تزيدها عليه. That it is not in need of anything to be added to it, or addition to it, or anything of that nature. No addition needs to be made. It is not in need of it. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ. So the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the aspect of those aspects of aqidah, those aspects of worship, those aspects of mu'amalat, all of those aspects are complete and perfect. that there is no need to outsource those aspects to achieve righteousness, to achieve closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ warned, and he made an important warning, because it is something which he is commanding or which he is recommending, as it is a farewell speech. وَقَالْ وَكُلُّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ, and every innovated affair in the religion is misguidance. So there is no يُسْتَثْنَى شَيْءٌ فَلَا يُسْتَثْنَى شَيْءٌ مِنَ الْبِدْعَةِ. يُسْتَثْنَى, there is no exception. Like there is no but, or maybe, that this could be something good. There is none of that when it comes to this evil affair of innovation in the religion. That all of it is bad. There is nothing good of the bid'ah, and nothing good comes from that bid'ah. Because now you find the people who come and say, Inna bid'a minha ma huwa al-hasan, that there is from evil innovation that is good. Wa minha ma huwa al-dhalala, and from it is that which is misguided. So you say, okay, there is evil, misguided innovation, no doubt, but from that there is also good. There's also good bid'ah. Look at this and look at that. All of that is something good. Look what it does. وَهَذَا خِلَافَ قَوْلَ الرَّسُولِ. This is contrary to that of the statement of the Messenger ﷺ. So what did the Shaykh do here? What did Shaykh Salih Fawzan do here? He took a common statement of a people of today. And he did what? What did he do? He returned it back to what the Messenger said. Okay, you say it's a good bid'ah, but look what the Prophet ﷺ said. كُلُّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. You say there's some good, some bad. The Prophet saying it's all what? It's all misguidance. None of it is good. So herefore we come and say, Shaykh Fulan, you say that some of the bid'ah is good, but look what the Prophet ﷺ said. All of it is misguidance. So how is it that one takes it and takes that? How is one going to come and put his idea, his statement, his anything over that which the Prophet ﷺ has come and said? When there's no istithna. And that is a practical example which the Shaykh, Hafidahullah, just did here. People come and say, yeah, good bid'ah, it's a good bid'ah. It's a good idea, let's do it. But look what the Prophet ﷺ says. وَهَذَا خِلَافَ قَوْلَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ كُلُّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ وَكُلُّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. All of it is evil and misguidance. وَهُمْ يَقُولُونَ لَا هُنَاكَ بِدْعَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. They come and say, nah, there is good bid'ah. We do see a good innovation. There is such thing as a good innovation. So we go and say, لَيْسَ هُنَاكَ بِدْعَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. There is no good bid'ah. There is none. And this is contrary to the statement of the Messenger ﷺ. And at this point, generally, if you hear that word, لَا هُنَاكَ بِدْعَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, you just drop it. Ain't nothing else after that. Ain't no sense in argumentation with this individual, because he obviously sees what is contrary to that of the Sunnah, and there's no win. You establish that hujjah, you establish that proof, and he chose to reject it and leave it off. Therefore, you leave him off and reject him. For that is something simple, but going back and forth until your veins pop and his veins pop, this isn't the way of the Messenger ﷺ. Likewise, those of the companions. Once it's established, leave them alone and keep it moving. فهذا مخالفا لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فبدع لا خير فيها ولا حسن فيها كلها قبيحة نسر الله عافية. So there is no good bid'ah, there is no good in it, and all of it is qabiha, all of it is disgusting. We ask Allah for well-being. So this is something of a great importance in dealing with the aspect and the mannerisms of a Muslim. Aspects of the mannerisms of Muslims in this day and time. We see groups such and such. We see such and such individuals. We see this person saying this statement. We see that person doing that thing. And we regard him of an individual that is respectable. But where is that action, that statement, that's whatever is going on in comparison to Kitab with Sunnah? Where is it that what the Messenger ﷺ said? Do we find an ayah to support that statement? Do we find an ayah to support that action? Do we find an ayah to support that movement or whatever the case may be? If we don't, then it is upon us to reject it, because every introduced affair in the religion is misguidance. And this is the mannerisms of the companions. As our brother Jamil explained last night, that what was the mawqif of Umar? What was the mawqif of Ibn Abbas? What was the mawqif of Ali? What was the mawqif of all of these individuals when it came to these people of innovation? It wasn't, gather together and come here and take them as friends, as partners. It was beating, it was imprisonment, it was banishment, it was harshness for those aspects of innovation which was not found in the time of the companions. So what about now? What about in this day and time? Let's take one or two or three issues that we can take off the top of our heads and expose it to that of the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ and see where it falls. If it is with you, then we are with you. But if it is against you, then you must reject it and leave it off and come to that. فَإِذَا تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. It doesn't say return it back to my idea or his idea or that idea or this thing. Return it back to the book and the Sunnah. And that's why you commonly find, when it comes down, that between us is what? The Book of Allah and the Sunnah. And when you say this to an individual of innovation, what do? They turn around and run. Because they don't want the Book and the Sunnah. Just as the Shaykh Rahimahullah made clear, Hafidhullah earlier, you find that this admonishment is what? No effect to them. You say, Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, they say, well, my man says this and my man says that. Just like here. Oh no, there is a good bid'ah. There's no good bid'ah. Kullu bid'atin dalalah. This is what the Messenger ﷺ said, and you want to come and say contrary to that. Nasrullah afiyah. This is the position of a Sunni. This is the one who refers his affairs back to that of Book and Sunnah. The Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ, as was understood by that of way of companions, by way of that of the Salaf as-Salih, and not turning our heads left and right to these frivolous movements, to these frivolous groups, to these frivolous personalities, to these people. Where do they lie with Book and Sunnah? And if you find that they contradict it, then we must turn away and hold together, all together, to that rope that the Shaykh Rahimahullah, tamassik bihabl, and that being the Kitab wa Sunnah. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, hold fast all together to the rope of Allah and do not be divided. So how is it that we will become united with a particular group or a particular movement when they have no book or sunnah to support what they say or do? How is it? But yet when we say come to the Kitab wa Sunnah, between us is Kitab wa Sunnah, come back to the Kitab wa Sunnah, what do? Well, this is what Imam so-and-so says, or Sheikh so-and-so says, or this or that says. And this is that which is contrary to that which the recommendation of the Prophet in this particular hadith is establishing. Alaykum bis sunnati wa sunnati khulafa'i rashidin mahdiyyin. فهذا حديث عظيم. The Shaykh Hafidhullah, he continues, فهذا حديث عظيم يشتمل على وصايا عظيم من تمسك بها فإنه ينجو من الفتن والخطر والضلال. So here this is a tremendous narration which contains recommendations and command and great commands of holding fast to that of Kitab wa Sunnah, to this hadith. What are the contents of this hadith? For verily he will be saved from every trial and tribulation. And that's the other thing. You find individuals today that verily when it comes to these trials and tribulations, whatever it may be, that you find that they are the deepest in it, because why? They are furthest from trying to read and understand Kitab wa Sunnah. That they are not in any classes. They are not reading any books. They are not giving precedence to the masajid. They are not giving precedence to learning the religion. They are not giving precedence to any of these things. All they are busy with is fitna. No hadith, no Quran, no anything, just emotion. Just emotion. And this is why you see these people that are wrapped up in fitna, That one day this man pops up, oh, this, and this, everybody's on it, he's misguided, oh, I'm struggling. Fitna. It's fitna. فَيَنْجُ مِنَ الْفِتْنَةِ. What is that? Holding fast to this one particular hadith. Holding fast to this one simple implementation of this hadith, returning your affair back to the Kitab, Sunnah, and the Khulafa al-Rashideen. And danger and misguidance, وَتَشَعُّ بِي أَرَى وَأَفْكَارِ, and the different branches of ideas and, things of that of afkar and likes of that. وَهَذَا مِن نِعَمَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْمُسْلِمِينَ أَنْ بَيَّنَ لَهُمَ الطَّرِيقَ. And this is from the bounty or the virtue of Allah upon the Muslims, that their way is made clear, that their way is made absolutely clear. وَأَبْقَى فِيهِمْ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةَ رَسُولِهِ. That what remains with them is the book of Allah and the way of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one comes into an affair that he is struggling with, he can easily go back to the Quran. He can easily go back to the Sunnah. He can easily contact the ulama. He can easily read the books of the athar of the Sahaba and the likes of this. But yet, that's what we don't do. Where do we run? Where do we run? Who knows where we run to? Huh? No? Not even that. Who? Well, that's part of it. That's what directs them. Straight to the internet. Straight to Twitter. To Facebook. To these other things of, warrior scholars that get on the internet and just type. No knowledge. No knowledge. Just everything of what they feel, their hawa, their desires, their separation, their division, all of this. That this is that of what they return back to. No ayat, no sunnah, no hadith, no statement of an imam, no statement of a companion, no understanding of dealing with the ulama or the likes of that. Just straight to the internet. I read this on Twitter. How can you even put that in your Senate? Where'd you hear that from, brother? I heard it from Twitter. How can you even say that that's a Senate? I heard it on Twitter. I heard it on this. This is not that of dealing with returning back to what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam put forth and commanded the Muslims to return back to. Return back to Kitab wa Sunnah. Because why? It is with us. It is here in front of us that we can refer. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If we come across a problem, we don't have the capabilities to go into it and read it, that Allah commands us to ask the people of knowledge. شَهِدَ اللَّهُ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ وَأُولُو الْعِلْمِ قَائِمًا بِالْقِسْطِ. That Allah testifies, the angels and those people with knowledge. Those people of knowledge. Allah praises the people of knowledge, but you constantly tear them down. Why? Why is that? Why do you turn away from this aspect? Why do you turn away from these recommendations? Why do you turn away from these? All because of what? Because of what Twitter says. Or because what website says. Or because of this is what that says. This is not the way of the ulama. This is not the way of the scholars. This is not the way of the companions. This is not the way of the messenger. And this is not found in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise the sunnah of the messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَأَبْقَى فِيهِمْ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةَ رَسُولِهِ. أَبْقَى كِتَابُ وَالسُّنَّةِ بِأَيْدِي مُسْلِمِينَ رَحْمَةً مِنْ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. So it remains with the hands of the Muslims. Remains with them a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He did not leave them to fall into that of ideas. آراء وأفهام وأفكار كما كان حال الأمم السابقة, just as it was in the previous nations. So here it's that of the Shaykh Hafidhahullah making clear that in the time of fitan, in the time of that of hardship or danger or misguidance, and that the ideas and the thoughts or whatever the case may be have become widespread and vast, that it is upon the Muslim to return back his religion to that of dealing with the book and the Sunnah. Not the television, not the internet, not the social media networks, but the ulama who stand fast upon that of the Kitab wa Sunnah. And to give a brief example of how this is implemented, that Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih Uthaymeen, he mentions that he doesn't remember exactly where he read it or heard it from, but one of the scholars, Muhammad ibn Abdul, he mentioned that he went to France, and he was in a restaurant, and some individuals knew the aspect of Islam. Kuffar, they knew some aspects of Islam and Quran and Sunnah and stuff of that nature. So they went up to him and said, you have the Quran and you claim everything is in it. You can do everything from the guidance of the Quran. He said, absolutely, without a doubt. So the people said, or he said, well, tell me how you made, or that sandwich is made. You know, where is it in the Quran that you take the bread, you put the meat, you put this, you put that? Show me in the Quran that it shows me how to make a sandwich, or how to make this plate of rice, or whatever the case may be. It's like, without a doubt, it's in there. Thinking that the man is trying to make the Quran something of a cookbook. He says, without a doubt, it's in there. He said, I'll show you in a heartbeat. So what did the man do? This Muhammad Abdul, he said, give me the chef. So they got the chef came out and he said, Chef, how did you make this sandwich? And he said, A, B, C, D, gave him through the techniques of making the plate, and he says, that's what's in the Quran. He said, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. He said, ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. And obviously the person of knowledge in this case is who? The chef. How do you make this plate? And the chef came out, made it clear. He's like, that's how you make it. And this is refutation. This is refutation and sabat to those kuffar who try to trick up the religion like that, to try to stumble. Always return it back to where? Kitab wa Sunnah. It's in there. Just ask Allah wa ta'ala to give you bounty, to give you that knowledge, to give you that tawfiq in learning and achieving understanding in the religion. And that is complete submission of returning everything back to what? Kitab wa Sunnah, and tamassik bi Kitab wa Sunnah. So here it's that every individual should be aware that in the time of fitna, in the time of these aspects of misguidance and ideas and false misconceptions about his religion, that he shouldn't refer back to those aspects, but only to that of Kitab wa Sunnah, the companions, the ai of the religion, and likewise the ulama, because they are the inheritors of the prophets. They are the ones who inherit from the prophets, and they are the ones that guide us to that which is closest to that of what, or guide us to that truth in which we are seeking, or which we are confused about, or which we are deceived about, or misguided about, or anything of that nature. So here is that of the end of the explanation of Sheikh Salih Fawzan in dealing with this aspect. So one must hold fast to it, one must implement it, one must strive to achieve it and understand it, and oppose everything which contradicts it. وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَالْمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ. Beware of these newly introduced affairs in the religion. A warning, is what we commonly say, a refutation or a rud upon this aspect of refutating that of misguidance, of evil misguidance, and the likes of that. For verily you see that this is what? It's not so much a refutation, it's what? A nus. And that's what that is. It's a recommendation and an advice for those people. إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْمُحْدَثَاتِ الْأُمُورِ. Beware of evil and invented matters. Be aware of so-and-so. Be aware of this group. Be aware of that idea. Be aware of whatever. A nus to the people, and that is what is upon the people to hold fast to and return back to. And this is what Allah wa ta'ala has made easy. And again, we would like to thank and express our thanks and gratitude firstly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come together in a house from the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remind ourselves of the importance of our religion by mentioning that of the statements of Allah, His Messenger, and understanding and clarity of the ulama of Ahl Sunnah. Likewise, that to the brothers who are in the process of establishing this masjid and establishing this masjid upon the correct methodology, the correct aqeedah, the correct mannerisms of a Muslim. And verily they are the few, they are the minority in this particular area. But as we know about that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at the numbers, even if you are just one, but you have the truth. That is the jama'at, and that is what we are commanded to hold fast to, and that is what we are commanded to aid and support and recommend and direct and be there as brothers upon that of Kitab wa Sunnah, and holding fast to وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تُفَرَّقُوا. So we ask Allah to reward them, to aid them, to support them in their endeavors, to help them in their sincerity, and establishing this masjid upon the truth, upon that of taqwa, of that of its origins or its foundations being established upon taqwa. Just as the masjid, as it's mentioned in that of the Quran, أُسِّسَ عَلَى تَقْوَى مِنْ أَوَّلِ يَوْمٍ. That we hope and we ask Allah for them to be able to establish this masjid upon that, and establish it for a house of worship for the believers in this area, likewise outside, and to place it in their good deeds in the hereafter, on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to aid us